Okay. All right, excellent. Well, we'll go ahead and call this regular commission meeting to order for Tuesday, January 2nd at 2 p.m. Stephanie, why don't we go ahead and do a roll call to see who's here with us?
Commissioner Byers?
Here.
Commissioner Hall?
Here.
Commissioner McElina?
Here.
Commissioner Richardson?
Here.
Commissioner Rigsby?
Here.
Absent is Commissioner Baugh and Commissioner Williams. Also present is Samantha and Stephanie for the Community Development Department, and you do have a quorum.
Excellent. At this time, I'll ask the commission members to declare any conflicts of interest for any of the items we're covering today.
None. I have none.
None. Seeing none, we'll continue on with the second item on our agenda, which is the certification of compliance with Resolution 2024-01. Stephanie?
I do certify that the meeting and properties were posted in accordance with Resolution 2024-01 and Section 5440 of the Municipal Code.
Great. Thank you. All right, we'll go into number 3, approval of the agenda today. Any discussion on the agenda?
I would like to make a comment that we did receive an email this morning from the applicant of 111 Riverside withdrawing their application, so we can remove item A for the continuance from the agenda.
Okay, any opposition to removing that?
No. None.
Okay. 6A is now removed from the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda, items B and C.
Second is, okay. Do you want to do just B and C or as listed?
Well, we're not doing A, right?
Yeah, but there's a D.
Oh,
And then
okay,
there's 7,
and D.
8, 9.
Yeah.
So you want to approve
Yes,
the agenda?
approve the agenda.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. Stephanie?
Commissioner Byers?
Aye.
Commissioner Hall?
Aye.
Commissioner McElina?
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson?
Aye.
Commissioner Rigsby?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Excellent. Let's go to our next agenda item, approval of minutes from our meeting in December, on December 5th. Any corrections or changes to the meeting minutes?
No, I make a motion to approve them as presented.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Josh, you seconded. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We'll go to a vote.
Commissioner Byers?
Aye.
Commissioner Hall?
Aye.
Commissioner McElina?
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson?
Aye.
Commissioner Rigsby?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, excellent. Just sign this so I don't remember or don't forget. All right. We'll go into bullet point 5 for public input. So at this time, for those that are either on Zoom or here with us today, this is where we can get general input from the community. So if you would like to comment on something that is not listed on our agenda, now would be the time. If you have comments on specific items on our agenda, you will be presented the opportunity later on during this meeting to cross-examine any of the applicants or to make your comments known. So this is for non-agenda items. Now would be the time to make comments. Last call. Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public input and move on to our quasi-judicial public hearing. With letter A removed from our agenda, we'll move to the request for variance PV 2023-446. Samantha, what can you tell us about this
Thank
request?
you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. We have the applicant Olin and Janet Bryant requesting to encroach 6.9 feet into the west side yard setback. They already have enclosed what was an existing carport located at 214 Hart Avenue, Lot 52A, Block 3 of the Paradise Canyon subdivision, second supplement to Ruidoso, in Ruidoso. This was a complaint we received. The inspector went out placed a red tag, and they're working to resolve the matter, and so they're here to plead their case to you all.
Okay, thank you. The applicant is here? Yes, sir. Okay, if you don't mind coming down,
Yes, sir.
stating your name, and then if you'll swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir. Olin Bryant.
Okay, and you'll swear to tell the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Feel free to have a seat and tell us about the case today.
Yes, sir. As Samantha, I'm sorry I didn't remember your name, has said, we had a carport that was part of our, modular home that we have. And we just decided to enclose the carport to make room for, we put a little day bed and Murphy bed and stuff like that in there so that when we bring our whole family, our grandkids would have more room for sleeping area. So we didn't expand either direction. We just put up 2 walls, one on the west side and one on the east side. I think that there are some pictures that with the packet there you can kind of see. So when we were talking to a contractor, or I don't know if he was a contractor or not, Jacob Pruitt came and did our estimate for us and just enclosed the wall, put some windows up. We got a couple of doors that was added for entrance from the back and from the side. And so at that time, we had asked him if we needed to do anything, and we knew that Ms. Voss, whenever she put this modular in, I believe back in the 90s, there was a variance that she had gotten back then. And so Jacob was aware of that, and so he just put up the 2 walls, a couple of doors, and some windows on the walls that we just enclosed our carport. Moving on, next thing we know, we get a red sticker up on the telephone pole telling us to cease work on that. Well, at this point, we had pretty much had it completed. There's just a little bit that has lacked some siding, a couple of, an outdoor light, I believe, by the door coming in from the outside is all that we lack. So we came up, and I believe it may have been Samantha, but I'm not for sure. I don't know if Miss Stephanie was involved or not. So we came in and asked if what we needed to do. And so at that point, we left a check. We thought that we needed to have a building permit issued. We had asked our builder about it, and he said, no, we're not expanding. We're just enclosing an existing structure. So again, no going either direction.
Recording in progress.
Sorry about that.
Sorry about that.
I hope I don't have to repeat all that.
No, you're okay. You're okay.
So at that point, we asked our builder, and he said that he would take care of it. And we let him know that we'd had the red sticker that said cease construction, not exactly for sure what all it had on it. So we had all of that on there. So we were contacting him. He said he would take care of it. Well, since then, he has moved. He no longer lives in Redosa. So we came up and talked. I believe it was Samantha. I don't know if you remember us coming up here, but we talked to her, said that we needed a building permit. So we issued a check for the building permit that we thought that we would need. And then it goes on, it says, well, we would need a variance. So we sent the stuff showing that Ms. Voss already had the variance on there. So now we're here. So I'm at this point right now, and so I'm just asking that you don't make me tear my 2 walls down where I've got my 2 walls put up with the existing carport. And I think you have pictures there to verify that we did not go anything more than putting up 2 walls with windows within the walls.
Okay, thank you. Anything else to add on your application?
I don't believe so. I think that's pretty much it, as best I can recall.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. At this time, we will open it up for comments from the public. So if you don't mind staying up front, but it's easiest if we have folks that do want to comment on this application to come on down to the front so we can get them recorded. And there'll be an opportunity for back and forth. So
You want me to stay here or go somewhere?
it'd be easiest if you sit in the front row, just over there. And then at this time, we'll open it up for anyone that would like to speak for or against this variance application. You can come on down to the front, state your name, make your comments. Hi there.
Hi,
If you don't mind just raising your hand, saying you'll tell the truth, and then stating your name as well.
I'll tell the truth, Tana Schermerhorn.
Okay, thank you.
I already sent an email, so I didn't know if I
Okay.
needed to come down, but I submitted an email asking for y'all to approve the request for a variance. We're their next door neighbors.
Okay. Great, thank you. Yes, we do have that, and I believe there were two comments that were submitted before the cutoff date that we can incorporate into the record. We have yours as well, and then one other as well. Any other comments outside of the email that you sent for or against this variance request?
No.
Okay. All right, sounds great. Thank you so much. Other comments from the public? We don't have anyone online, I don't believe. Right, Stephanie?
No, we're trying to get back.
Okay.
Oh, we do have one person online, but not for this case.
Okay. All right. Seeing no one else wanting to come and comment, I'm going to go ahead and close the public input portion of this case. And Mr. Bryan, if you don't mind coming back up to the front, the commissioners at this time would have questions for you or questions for staff clarifying this application, so that way we can make our most informed
Yes,
decision.
yes, sir.
Commissioners, at this time, the floor is yours. Feel free to ask any questions of the
I
applicant.
have a question. You said you had a variance granted already on the property prior to?
Ms. Voss had a variance. I believe she had bought two lots, I think. This comprises two lots. I'm not for sure of the lot numbers. And I don't know if it's in that packet that
Yeah.
was put together. And so that was what we were thinking, that we already had the variance. But again, we didn't expand either direction. We didn't go out either way. We just enclosed the carport, and I think you can see the pictures there of the before and after, that we just put up two walls and some windows within the walls.
How long have you owned this place? When did you buy it?
I believe it was 2016. Yes, sir, Ms. Voss, she was a avid horse racing fan, and she came Memorial Day, and I think she left Labor Day. She's from the Midland, Odessa area, if my memory serves me correct. And she got to where she was not able to come to the horse races with her failing health, and she put it up on the market, and we bought it from her.
So it's your primary residence?
No, sir.
It's a second home?
Yes, sir.
I got a question for Steph, I guess. Was there actually a variance for this property? Did Ms. Voss or whoever?
Not one that we were able to locate on record.
So
It
that's
does
just
look like
hearsay.
that they replatted the two lots into one, but we don't have any record of a variance.
Okay.
Now, Samantha, for clarification, if it was just the carport is something that can be in a setback with a variance. Is that correct? Am I correct on that interpretation of the code?
Since it's a covered like it is, it would still need to meet the setbacks. So,
So even as a carport, it would not have been,
Yeah.
yeah, it would not have been allowed.
okay.
Was the entire carport added after the fact, or do we know that?
No,
I don't know if
I'm
it's
not
just
sure.
a singular unit put in and then they put the carport on it.
The carport was put in when the modular home went in back
Went
in
in.
96 or 97. The roof covers the entire modular plus the carport. So all of that has been there since I believe it's 96, could be 97, but I'm not exactly sure when Ms. Voss had it put in.
Okay.
But it was all put in at the same time.
Looking at this plat by D.T. Collins back in 96, it indicates that that carport was a proposed carport at that point. I don't know if this was a improvement survey or a preliminary development survey. I don't know.
No, sir, I wouldn't know either.
Might have been
Whenever we
preliminary.
bought the property in 16, the carport was there,
Looks like
as
it might
it
have
is
been
today.
a preliminary. It says proposed modular home as well, so must have been a preliminary.
Yeah.
Even that, I mean, you
Yeah, it
have,
does, huh?
there was no permit. We don't know of a variance. There was no inspections done, so we don't know anything about electrical or anything at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, or even the slab at this point.
Obviously, this, in one of those neighborhoods where things happened prior to codes being enforced, and the neighbor encroaches several feet, it looks like, and that's common in that neighborhood, but I think these were some of those lots that were giveaway lots with subscription.
Newspaper
people and stuff,
subscriptions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
little 20-foot lots.
Commissioners, other questions, comments, clarification?
Well, I'm just not sure why you would proceed with doing something relying on a contractor. Was the contractor listed as a business in the village of Ruidoso?
I don't know. I'm not sure. We just, I'm not really for sure how we come across Jacob. There were some recommendations. I know he had been doing some work out here. He was busy. We had to wait for him to finish up several jobs. I don't know where within Ruidoso, but he was currently working. And so the folks that we had got recommendations from, you know, he said it would be worth waiting on. And so we waited till he finished up the projects that he was doing before he came and closed the carport. And then, like I said, we'd asked him, do we need to do anything here? And he said and told us, I believe, that we're just enclosing an existing structure. You're not expanding, you're not encroaching on anybody, we're just enclosing a structure.
Still need a building permit.
So I had no reason to question, you know, that, since we were just putting, you know, 2 walls up, that it would ever come to something like this, so. We had asked him, and then, like I say, once we got the red sticker, that's when we came down to pay for the building permit if we needed it. We knew it was late, but, you know, if we needed it, we were more than willing to do it at that point. We just did not realize that we needed it at the point that when he started construction.
Commissioners, other questions for the applicant? For Sam?
So was it red tagged after the construction was finished? Is that how it was caught?
Yes, that's correct.
And that's just because there was a complaint, right?
But the carport carport was put in originally? That's what you're saying on the property? It was put in?
Whenever we bought the property, the carport was there as it is.
Okay.
A complete roof over the picture that you see of the before, that's how it was when I bought it in 16. And like I say, I assume Ms. Voss had it put in back in the 90s whenever she came out.
And so when did you enclose it?
It's probably been livable since last spring. It was real slow, like I say, getting it going, putting up, finding the windows that we needed. He had it kind of framed out, and then finding the windows that we needed so we could have a view. Getting all that together took a while, but I'd say it's probably been enclosed since late spring. I'm really not for sure, but it's been some time now.
So when did they red tag it?
Do you have the date of the red tag? We can pull that information.
I believe it
Just trying to
was
get the history
red
here.
tagged
I get it.
late summer.
It was April.
This April?
And like I say, as soon as it was red tagged, that's when we got a hold of Jacob and said, there's a red tag there. And he told us, he said, well, I'll take care of it. He said, I'll get that taken care of. And so we waited. Now he's no longer living out here, or we're not able to get in contact with him.
That's a very common story here. Trust me. Unfortunately.
So just so that way I have full clarification. Sam, this carport was not permitted appropriately, and the variance, we have no record of that variance being given to this property ever. So it was in the encroachment since we think 96, and it's just now coming to light that we don't have the variance, correct?
And the illegal construction was performed by enclosing the carport into livable space.
Correct, okay.
I know that we had to go through a lot of, we did finance it out here whenever we did purchase this house. And I know they come and did some surveying. There's a back porch that's been on there that they said needed a few more stabilizers before it could go through the loan. So they came out and did a check, I guess. I'm not for sure. I'm
An
blank on
inspection.
the word that I'm trying to look for, but it passed all of that before we were able, before the mortgage company would give us the money to buy it with.
Yeah. In general, the mortgage company wouldn't check for variances or do that level of due diligence, from my experience. So it might not have come up then.
And that's us too. We were not even aware of what a variance even was until we started checking on this and told that we had to have that. We knew of the building permit because we'd asked Jacob before we started, but the variance, we had no idea what that was or what it required until after we got the red sticker.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, Josh.
this may be a question for Zach, but if this was approved, what's the liability of the village? Because there was no inspection on anything as far as all this is going on. If it was approved and something happened down the line, is there a fallback on the village for us approving an already constructed structure? Zach?
There's potential liability on the part of the village, but what I'm hearing and what I've read, the only question in front of you is whether or not you are going to approve a request for a variance.
Okay.
And the law on variances is, it's very clear in the case law that variances are reserved for those cases, those few cases where the lot is so, I can't think of the exact language, but it just can't accommodate, because of the dimensions of the lot, you can't meet the requirements of the code. And the facts of this case are that somebody built a structure, and I'm not sure if I got all the facts clear, but built a structure, but didn't have it properly permitted. And then later, they enclosed that structure and without getting the proper permits, and now they're asking for a variance. It doesn't line up with what variances are legally used for.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
Commissioners, other questions for Zach, the applicant? Sam?
I have a question. If the carport were not enclosed and, but the question of the variance had come into question prior to, because of the fact that it's been there, we assume since 96, we're pushing, what, 18 years or something?
Almost 30 years.
Oh, 90, yeah. Excuse me, my math.
30 years ago, it was not the 70s anymore.
So anyways, it's been there. Is there some point that something like that becomes grandfathered or whatever? And I don't know. At this point, like I say, the encroachment coming to light, and if it weren't ever obtained as far as a variance,
I think as existing, as the carport, then it would be just considered non-conforming. But with the substantial improvements of it becoming livable space and potentially having electrical and mechanical work that's been added to this room, that changes the requirements when they go to make these substantial improvements to the property. And as we look at the variance request, we need to analyze what the hardship is. And it always says about the physical characteristics of the land. So that's where this makes it tough. To answer Commissioner Richardson's question, if a variance was to be granted, we would require that he gets all of the proper permits
right?
for each subsection that he built. I don't know what he's done in there, but.
Hypothetical, if the thing had a variance, would the building permit have been granted to enclose such into a living space?
Well, they'll have to look at the foundation of the concrete to make sure that it's able to sustain the load-bearing weight of whatever they
And
added.
I'm not worried about because it's the placement, not the foundation that's in question as far as the encroachment. Assuming that he could have met the requirements for footing and all that, would it have been granted that he could have enclosed it, or at least gotten a building permit?
Not for constructing something like this because it's a substantial change to what's existing, an open-air carport versus livable space. Because then you come in, for the whole reason that we have setbacks is to prevent fire. So if there was a fire in this livable space that he created, it would very easily catch the neighbor's property on fire because of the distance.
Okay.
The whole siding on the north side is wood siding that holds up it goes up to the roof. It's wood siding over there. It kind of comes down halfway, or not halfway, but maybe a fourth of the way on there. And the part that we enclosed, the weight variance, that you pull cars up on this thing. So there was cars that were going up on this and parking. It is a carport, concreted carport that they pulled up on. And the square footage of all of that has not changed. All we did was just put up 2 walls. The square footage is still the same. The outside of the carport was already wood. We did put a metal roof on it a couple of years ago when the hailstorm come through. we had damage, we went back with a metal roof, so we do have a metal roof on top.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioners, other questions to help you make a decision on this case?
So to add to what Zach said, we would need to look at this more of a variance case than
Just looking
anything
at
else, not the
variance.
structure itself.
Correct, yep.
It's going to go back to that case we had a few months ago. Same thing with a modular home, crossways of the lot. Home's too big for the lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
We know what the outcome of that was, so.
yeah.
certainly. Do you have a motion for us, Commissioner Richardson?
I can. Based upon the foregoing findings of Fact 54-92, 54-140, and 54-66 of the Village Code, I'll do this in the positive side, and we can go from there. I move to grant the requested variance for case PV 2023-446, conditions stated in the case report.
Thank you, Josh. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We can have discussion or comments from the commissioners before we vote, if there are any.
I did that in a positive.
And that's the way to do it, yep. So, Stephanie, we have a motion and a second with no other discussion. Why don't we move to a vote?
Commissioner Byers?
Nay.
Commissioner Hall?
Nay.
Commissioner McElina?
Nay.
Commissioner Richardson?
Nay.
Commissioner Rigsby?
Nay.
Motion does not carry.
Thank you. Motion did not carry. At this time, I think do you need a signature from the applicant, Stephanie, for that, or no?
No, because it's not being approved. So at this time, you have the opportunity to follow through with the appeal process, or you'd have to bring the structure back to the original state.
Thank you, sir.
So what's the appeal process?
I can discuss that with you after.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll move to letter C on our quasi-judicial public hearing, site plan and concept, SP 2023-453. Sam, what can you tell us about this, and is the applicant here with us? Come on up front while Sam tells us about this.
Thank you. This is a site planning concept to develop a recreational RV park in the C2 Community Commercial District located at 135 Paradise Canyon Drive. As you may recall from the past few meetings, we did a zone change amendment followed by a conditional use application, and now they're here for the site plan and concept approval. That's the last step in their process to become operational.
Great. I think we've seen this property a couple times. You've been in front of us, but anything that you would want to tell us about your application?
No, sir. We have 16 existing sites that we purchased, and we're looking to add an additional 5 that we're proposing as well in this proposal.
Did the site plan or?
The preliminary site plan is on page 27 of our packet. Okay. No other comments on your application? All right. At this time, I'll open it up to public input. If there's anybody that would like to comment for or against this item, they can come on down. Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close out public input. Last chance. Okay. All right. I think the commissioners will still have some questions about your preliminary site plan or questions for Sam. So, commissioners, at this time, if you have any questions for the applicant, the floor is yours. And I noticed that from the one that we saw last time and this time, there's no pullouts that are going directly to Paradise, correct?
No, sir.
For me, and then I'll open it up to the other commissioners. On this site plan, can you point out where the garbage and,
Yes, absolutely. It is on mine. It's not on y'all's. I don't believe. I didn't meet with the village disposal department until after the last meeting.
okay,
And this was turned in. Where it says Brian was a typo. The dumpsters are actually going right next to the word Brian on your right corner above Lot 1 and Lot 2.
okay.
Yeah, that was a complete typo to have Brian. It was supposed to have dumpsters right there.
I think I see him. There's gonna be one dumpster, two dumpsters?
We've got 2 approved. Currently, we have 1, but I did get it approved to have a second one.
You have a better site plan there?
Absolutely
Do
do.
you mind if we pass that around so the commissioners can look at it real quick?
Love it. The red writing on it is the power line, easement. Is that the one you're looking at?
Okay. You guys wanna gather around? It's, it looks like very similar to what we have here, just we can see, the writing a little bit better.
It is the exact same thing. The red pin is the only difference, but that is power line easement.
Okay. And you don't own lot 1 and 2A, do you?
No, sir.
Okay.
And are the driveway cuts already existing on Paradise Canyon? Or did it look like you were looking for another one near Lot 6? Is that correct?
If you don't mind, I'm gonna come up just a second.
That's the one that one there?
Okay, so this is, to the house, this is current, this is already cut and existing. This one's cut and existing, it currently goes through what we propose as parking. Excuse me, and this is all current and existing all the way out.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So there's nothing.
This house is part of yours?
Yes, sir, it is
Okay.
part of our house and it is existing.
So you're gonna have something to keep them from driving
Yes, sir.
straight on to Paradise,
Yeah.
I have to make the road.
Absolutely, there's 35 feet off of Paradise, which is just county easement that's there, and then giving us, I mean, width-wise, we've almost got 120 feet of turning
I
space.
just wondered how they were gonna access this.
That one, there's a road right here that pulls in right here, and like I said, with the room here, all this is gravelled. We just did the site plan, and there's plenty of background space.
Just want to see someone get hit on Paradise.
No, sir. Yeah, we do realize the dangers of Paradise on that turn. Yes, sir.
Certain time of year.
Yeah.
Like this last weekend.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're fully aware.
Okay. Ron, you wanna look at this? You see? Okay. All right. Thank you for bringing this as well. Questions for the applicant, gentlemen? Questions for Sam?
Yeah, I've got a question for Sam
Okay, go ahead.
on, what was it? This is on page 36 of our packet. It says on driveway permits, it says need entrance on Randall Drive. Is that part of a different packet, that page, or? Because I don't remember seeing Randall Drive off Paradise Canyon. I just want to make sure that,
That's the incorrect development checklist. That's for 311 Meacham. It was added in.
Okay.
okay.
We'll get you all the
Yeah.
correct one.
Okay.
But we didn't have any adverse, the solid waste manager, Jerry, he did ask that they put him in a location where they could do the right-hand pickup, and that's why he located
That's why I
it
looked
there.
at it, okay.
But beyond that, we didn't have any other issues. I will make sure y'all have copies though.
Okay, that was my, that's why I asked the question about the driveways, because I wasn't sure what was going on.
Yeah, and she's right, Jerry did want it on a right-hand dump, so we moved it to an exit space for the village. Yes, sir.
Was there anything in your plan about screening those or enclosing them from Paradise so people won't see the dumpsters as they drive by?
I would love to enclose them, but I didn't propose it.
Okay.
We prefer they don't enclose them. It really slows down pickup time and a liability on the village when they go to put them back down.
Gotcha.
Yeah, perfect. I don't have anything else, Jacob.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion from somebody then. Nothing else?
Based upon the foregoing findings of facts per 5467 and 54-148 of Village Code, I move to grant the site plan and concept approval for case number SP-2023-453 with the conditions stated in the case report.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Stephanie had to step out for a moment.
I'll do a roll call for her.
You will?
Christie's taking notes. Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner McElina,
Aye.
Commissioner Rigsby,
Aye.
Commissioner Byers,
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson.
Aye.
Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you.
Y'all have a wonderful day.
You
Good
too.
luck, too, sir.
I don't think we'll see you again for this
Yeah.
property, so.
Good luck.
Have a great day.
All right, let's move on to the next one. This is a conditional use permit, I believe. Case number 2023-453. Sam, what can you tell us about this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our applicant is requesting to place a food truck located at 360 Sudworth Drive in conjunction with the Our Greenleaf Organic Business.
Thank you. 454, sorry, correction on that one. You're the applicant, sir?
Yes, Kurt Delgado, and I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth.
Perfect, thank you. Feel free to have a seat.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Delgado? Delgado, tell us a little bit about what you're looking to do today.
Okay, well, my proposal is to put my 20-foot by 8-foot food truck in front of Our Greenleaf. I have the property owners and the company owner's permission. I have a backup to my disposal plan, so I have a Valley Protein. Actually, I'm a customer of theirs, so I do have a grease trap at Enchanted Vine, because that's where I started. And I have the permission of Crafty Cup to use their grease trap if needed. I use about 10 gallons of oil per week, maybe, depending on how clean I can keep I have one fryer, and the water tanks hold 25 gallons. That lasts me 3 to 4 days of the gray water, so I don't put out a lot of waste. And I've been a business since March 9th of 2022. My food truck is Papi Chulos. It says Ruidoso right on the side of it. This is where I started. I'm a resident here. And I would just like to, my mission statement is to give the community here fresh food, not McDonald's, not Kentucky Fried, anything processed. Everything I do is fresh. I reinvest all my money that I make into the community and into local businesses. I buy farm fresh vegetables, Walmart, back when Thriftway was Thriftway, and Albertsons. I do meet the requirements as far as there's no overhead lines. I am not obstructing any of the parking spaces at all. I have been there before on permit, per the manager there, Marissa. We did a grand opening there, and my food truck was there for 2 days, and they obtained a 2-day permit. And everything went really well, and it's a good site, and it produces a lot of, basically, I'm not trying to bring a lot of people to the site. I'm using DoorDash, so everything will be to go. There'll be no seating for my customers. They'll just pick up the food and go.
Okay. Thank you. Anything, other comments you'd like to make about your application?
No, I went through it all, and, everything looks good, and I've met the requirements to everything that I was asked to.
Okay. Thank you, I appreciate that. At this time, we'll open it up for public comment for anybody that's online or anybody here that's person that would like to say something. So if you don't mind just taking your seat back, and then, sir, if you don't mind coming down, stating your name.
My name's Dave McIntosh. You're kind of the attorney. My name's Dave McIntosh. I used to own the building that they're currently asking about. And I own the 2 buildings adjacent to it, just to the east of it. And when I sold the building, I made them put in a parking agreement for me that allowed me 7 spots right there that we could use continuously. And the way we put the parking lot in there, and the way that the traffic flow is, the exit
Okay.
to go around the parking goes in front of the building. And if you notice, there's a green X right there, and that is also an exit, but this exit is illegal. If the state ever wanted to come in and close it off, they could do so. And it's also built up to where when people go across it, some people bottom out there, so we have designed the parking to where everybody goes around the front. And by doing that, it creates an even flow. The other thing is I'm not sure exactly where he had in mind to put the food truck, but right there where you see the little, the gravels there on, that's kind of a little
Yeah.
entrance there. The state highway frontage goes right next to that. So where I've got the exit going out, that is not their property. That belongs to the state highway department. So if they're going to put the food truck there, they're actually putting it on state highway. And so that wouldn't be allowed anyway. But the problem I have with it is that that I just think it will congest the parking and make the parking, because I have two buildings over here that are about 3,000 square feet total. And those 7 spots that I have there are dedicated to those 3 buildings. And Samantha has the paperwork that'll show that. The other thing is that the gentleman mentioned that he could use a Crafty Cups grease trap. And I told her that wasn't a deal. She couldn't use it because she had a special variance to put a small grease trap there because she was just a coffee shop. And so she didn't have to have the full expanded grease trap. And we've already had to have over 200 foot of sewer line blown out once because of the grease that accumulates there, even with the food trap that's there. So I just don't think it works. Also, there's already 5 restaurants right there. Directly across the street, you have Ole Taco, you have Kentucky Fried Chicken. Just to the east, you have Hacienda, and just to the west, you have Los Cabos. And then you have Mario's Market down there, plus you have the 2 convenience stores. And they all pay property taxes. They're all local businesses pretty much, and I just don't feel like that the location would enhance anything. It would take away. So from that aspect, I don't like it at all. I'm also speaking for Karen Davis, who owns the property directly to the north. And she objects to this vehemently, but she is in Colorado, and she just couldn't be here for it. And she didn't even receive a notice because she doesn't get her mail at that location. She gets her mail in a box, and from what she was told, they mailed it to her physical address. So she didn't even know about it until 2 days ago when I told her, or 3 days ago, whatever it was, or she would have been here, but she just couldn't do it. So with all of that in consideration, I used to sit on y'all's, I was on P&Z for years, and I understand how hard it is for you guys, but I just don't feel like this is a good fit at all, especially considering they're gonna be on highway property and block the flow of parking coming through there.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Mr. Delgado, at this time, you can rebuttal or address.
Excuse me one second. And he said that he had the agreement with the owner and everything. They never contacted me. And I have this parking agreement that says that, it's all shared. So I'm just a little disappointed that they didn't even contact me. And I have a feeling that the owners don't know. It's just that the management and the management above them do, so.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I appreciate Mr. McIntosh's concern about the parking and about the grease trap and the taxpayers. I also pay taxes. I own a home in Ruidoso, and I think everybody deserves a right to make a living in this town, and I've been doing it for 2 years, and it's been successful. I'm also on the village vendors list, and I do all the things at the Wingfield Park and everything in accordance with the village. And I'm just asking for, how can you say, a temporary pass permit to see how it goes. I don't have to use the Crafty Cup. The Crafty Cup was a backup to my backup. I believe you should always have a backup to your waste disposal plan and to your plan, period. Like I said, I have Valley Protein. I have my own grease trap. It's on wheels. It's up in Alto. And, I can not work around it, but I can make that happen to where I don't have to rely on anybody else. I'm pretty much self-contained. I'm my only employee. My dad helps me out from time to time, but, I'm not looking to create cluster or even change anything with the parking or anything like that. I'm right up against the building. That's where I was before. My windows are facing out on the highway, and I believe there's like 15 to 18 feet from my front window to the sidewalk. So I'm not, like I said, it's a small unit. It's 8 foot wide, so I'm not taking up too much space this way, north to south. I am 20 foot side to side, and we've already done the measurements 3-4 times, and we're not inside of any of the parking spaces. So with that, I hope I can get this done, and if there's any problem, I am more than open to change things, move things around in accordance to the village and to the property owners surrounding me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll get everybody else the opportunity to comment. Anybody else that's online or here in person? Jeff, I see you're on.
Yes, Jeff West. I would like to ask a couple questions, if I may.
Yes, sir.
The questions that I have is I own the building immediately to the west, and as things have been, Greenleaf is, I would say things are great, but there are times in which their customers will utilize our limited parking space for our office building. So while I'm all about food truck and free enterprise, my only concern would be on how would things go into place to control parking from infringing on my limited parking and my parking space right across on Bishop.
Well, like I said, my food truck is strictly to go. In the past, in different venues, I've put picnic tables out. People were invited to sit down. When I was at the Alto Ski Shop, I had seating there. This is strictly to go, to where DoorDash will be pulling up to the west of the building, and there's those 4 spots, and there's a handicap spot. We can make the conditions of they pull up, this will be the spot. I can put a sign out there, park here only to pick up food, and the food will be picked up from the second window and out. It's not something where, I want people to enjoy my food, but it's more of a to-go thing and more of a, there's no seating here, so that's exactly what I'm not gonna do, is have people sitting in front of the trailer, on the street, around the building, sitting in their cars eating. It'll be strictly to go, and if I can put that on my Google review site, that could be something that could be read. It can be put on my business cards, and it's a small town. I know most everyone in this town. The people that are repeat customers. From the feedback I've gotten is they'll just be happy to be able to get my food in town. Now, I had to go to Alto Ski Shop because of the restrictions on food trucks. I was one of the only food trucks from Ruidoso, so I moved up to Enchanted Vine, did weddings up there with my catering, half of my company, and then Mr. Riddle put me down at the ski shop, and that's his property, and the codes are different there, so I was able to do a year down there. I would like to be close to home and run my business out of our town and be the Ruidoso food truck, so.
Thank you. Any other questions Mr. West?
I don't necessarily know if I have a question here, but rather a statement.
Yep.
There's already overflow parking with Greenleaf into our parking lot on a regular basis, especially when town gets full. From a, time by time limited basis, I don't have a whole lot of objection. But when it does infringe on my customers and clients and even my staff's inability to park in our own parking lot, or rather on the grass behind our building, it does present a complication, and maybe an arrangement needs to be a little bit more strong between you and the owners of Greenleaf to make sure that parking is confined within the appropriate business's location. And that's all I'll have to say.
Thank you, Mr. West. I think something could be reached to where signage and maybe Greenleaf conveying to their customers, there's absolutely no parking on your side. Leaving the Crafty Cup side parking to Crafty Cup and Mr. McIntosh's business, and just using the back side and the west side, so it'd be north and west, those parking spaces there for Greenleaf. I do understand when we do have a lot of people in town on holiday, it gets crazy. And, everything short of an officer out there with a sign, people park all over the place. And that's been an ongoing problem in our community, for as long as I can remember. So, I am not opposed to coming up with a solution, a long-term solution for, all the companies, that are affected.
Mr. Chair, I have a couple of comments. As far as Jeffrey West Real Estate Building, I would suggest that they put do not park signage, and it's reserved for their customers only. We do see that often throughout Sedrith, as you know, especially in Midtown, and can be enforced by towing. As far as the setbacks, since the trailer will remain road ready, it doesn't need to meet the full 20-foot setbacks that's dictated by an actual building structure. So 18 feet back from the right-of-way would be acceptable. This parking agreement, Mr. McIntosh, is not executed. It's blank throughout. Do you have an executed version that?
I do, yeah, that was just one I played up, but, yeah, we've got the signed version and everything on there. The other problem I have is that there's.
Do you mind coming to the microphone? Because we're being recorded and it doesn't capture your voice back there. Thank you.
If you look at the plat, there's no way that he can be 20 or 30 feet from the highway, because the highway frontage starts directly in front of that property. In other words, when you step out of our Greenleaf, you've got about 8 feet there, and then you're on state right-of-way. There is one handicap spot there on the southeast corner of their building, but that is part of our parking, because we have 3 total handicap spots. That particular handicap spot is the only one that is handicap ramp in case somebody has a van with a ramp on it. That one there is particularly wide to make that whenever I had to meet the requirements for the buildings. So he couldn't, if he planned on taking that spot, he wouldn't be able to. And if he puts it out there in front, then it blocks that natural flow, which I showed everybody there. So it just wouldn't work. And then plus, I owned a ski shop there for almost 30 years, and there is overflow parking that goes into the real estate on a regular basis. And if you have a food truck there, and let's just say it gets busy and the guy's got 5 or 6 orders backed up, that's 5 or 6 cars that are gonna sit there until those orders are filled, and then those people are gonna go back. Now, Karen's big complaint was that she already gets a lot of trash blowing into her yard and so forth from people who throw stuff in the parking lot. And even though this is a carry out to go, you know as well as I do, most people are going to sit there in the parking lot and eat their food. And a certain number of those people are going to throw that the rubbish out. She always has huge problems with the two dumpsters that are in front of her house, because people are always coming in there and just dumping stuff, construction debris and so forth. And if we start having more, more trash in there, it's just gonna create a bigger problem for her. And then plus she doesn't like the additional traffic going around there anyway, so anyways, that's kind of, but I just don't see an 18-foot. There's no place that there's 18 foot before it reaches the highway there.
Appreciate those comments. Thank you, sir. Sam, did you get the chance to finish the comments or statements that you wanted to?
Yes, and from what I can see on the site plan, those aren't, in front of the building aren't spaces that we count as parking spots for. Where the trailer is drawn in the diagram is not occupying any existing parking spaces that we count.
Okay. Mr. Delgado, anything else to add for yours or?
No.
Rebuttal? Okay. All right, we'll have you come up front. I think we've had everybody here that wants to comment. At this time, I think I'll move to commissioner questions for the applicant and close the public input. Okay. Commissioners, we've gotten a little bit more information from Mr. McIntosh, gotten a little bit of more information from Mr. Delgado. What questions do you all have for the applicant? The one that I'll start with, and then I'll open it up. You proposed the trailer, your food truck will be in front of the main entry, right in front of, directly in front of the sign is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And from sidewalk to sign, do you know the distance?
From sidewalk to sign,
The R green
I-
sign?
remember what we had? I did not write it down, but I would be right up against the black pole of that new sign that they have. So I would be 8 foot off that, and then whatever the distance between the front of my trailer to basically I went out to the middle of the sidewalk, right there. So I had about 18 foot.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioners, what other questions do you have for the applicant?
Has the applicant seen this plat? Have you seen this plat? Because, here, take a look at that. That's the challenge, the challenge that Mr. McIntosh raises is a valid one. If you look, no matter where you put that trailer in the front of the building, it appears to be on DOT right-of-way. And that's, even if the thing's mobile, you can't really put a structure on the DOT right-of-way, if that is in fact the actual property line.
What we consider and what DOT has relayed to us is the back of sidewalk is their start of their right-of-way.
And Sam, the pattern, the traffic flow, the parking flow, that's something that you all would dictate when we go into the permitting process? The question behind the question is do we have to keep this flow? Is this flow something we have on our record?
That's not a flow I agree with. If you look at the way that the parking spaces are along Crafty Cup,
Well, I guess
and the ingress has already been established, so they have a prescriptive easement from there. I don't see DOT having a leg to stand on to go and close that ingress.
Okay, the question I have then is if you look at the plat that Mr. McIntosh presented, any area you put that trailer is not on that piece of property. Who owns that property between that property line as shown in the sidewalk? Who owns that? I don't know that. If in fact that is DOT owned, that's a challenge, that's a problem, but I don't know that. The plat doesn't identify it as DOT owned, but that's the question that I have.
Let's see if we can get a copy of it from the GIS. We wouldn't be able to get a copy of it to see who owns. Okay.
Another question. The building is about 1,600 square feet, plus or minus. What's the required amount of parking spaces for that building?
For retail, 500 for each, one for 250 in retail, one for 500 feet of storage.
Okay.
So it depends on the occupational type of the business and how that is broken up.
Right. The 15, not including the parking agreement that Mr. McIntosh has, would be sufficient for that retail space, right?
Yes.
Do we know the minimum parking required for that building that's there, that Greenleaf is there?
For that use is one space for every 250 feet of retail, plus one space for every 500 feet of storage.
Okay, so you've got,
So depending on how much of that building is used on retail, will dictate how many for the 250, and then the rest of the storage part of that would do the one at 500.
So it's going to be around 8.
Is the Connex included in the storage?
Question for Stephanie.
Commissioners.
Sorry, sir. Yes.
And I apologize for the interruption. Just for clarification, if you look at the site plan and then the plat that were both provided, the actual parking spaces on the diagonals are opposite. So the flow of traffic is probably not the best flow as established as Samantha had mentioned, and it would be coming in from the opposite direction.
If you look at the Google Earth view, the parking lot's striped differently, is what they're getting at there.
okay.
So the flow would
If
have
you look
to
at this
be
picture, it
reversed.
has arrows pointing
Yeah.
the way he's
Right.
indicating.
I don't know if it was restriped.
I mean, it is confusing as far as the angle of the parking from the Google Earth but the arrows
No, sir,
indicate,
I'm sorry. Public comment has been closed.
the arrows indicate that it's going there as this. I don't know what to go by, but my question is, if we're looking at number of spaces, does the Connex that's there, is that included in, I guess it's storage, and that's another one of the questions that I have as far as, was it permitted? Does it need to be permitted?
3,200 or 320 square feet of storage. They're usually about, 8
I think-
foot by 40.
I think if you subtract the 7 that is on the Crafty Cup parking agreement, assuming that that is executed, just as an assumption, not that I believe you, sir, then they're at 16 parking spots. So that's nearly 1 parking spot per 100 square foot of the building in general.
Yep, that's what
So
I was
then
trying
the
to
parking
get to.
is not
The-
necessarily the issue at hand.
So why wouldn't you just move if you're gonna run the food truck, move it into some of the parking places, because you've got more than enough
More than
parking
enough
places.
parking?
Because it's a shared parking supporting 3 types of businesses.
Is the Connex used?
But the existing parking of the food truck won't encroach on any parking spaces. It'll just be right there where the sign is, the pole sign that they have. It's not,
I say move the Connex, put it there.
Well, I mean, if Mr. Delgado is,
I'd love to.
if what he says is true, he's relying more on DoorDash than he is on drive-up customers. We all know that's not going to work, because anyone who sees a spot to get something to eat, they're going to pull in there and get it.
Yeah.
When it's busy like it was this weekend.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's going to require some parking.
Yeah.
We all know it's going to, even though you'd like to
Yeah,
just be
I agree.
DoorDash.
And
It's,
I agree, and just for the record, it is a mobile food truck.
Yes, sir.
So I promised myself this year that I would not work 7 days a week. Because I do barbecue, because I smoke barbecue and pulled pork and stuff like that. And I'm shrinking my menu, so Mondays and Tuesdays, I'm not even gonna be there. And I can hook up, pull it out, put it at my residence on those days while I'm taking care of other business. And so honestly, if I could just run Wednesday to Sunday from 10 o'clock, that's when our Greenleaf opens, to 6 PM at night, that's my window, lunch and early dinner, and I'm out. Everything will be closed up, everything has video cameras and its own security. So I'm not asking to run 24 hours a day. I did that at the ski shop, and it just about killed me, so I'm shortening everything, and, DoorDash is gonna help improve my business. A lot of people that come into town, they don't want to drive through town when it's busy. They rather have food delivered. I know that firsthand. So, even a trial basis here. And if we run into problems, we can address the problems, as they come. And like I said, I appreciate Mr. McIntosh's concerns about everything. I was a longtime Border Stop customer for such a long time there, and I know Mr. McIntosh. I don't want to get in the way of anybody's happiness, business happiness, personal happiness. I just want to put out a good product for our town and do it in a smart way.
Yeah, I appreciate that, sir. I think a question that I have for Sam and the village is the proposed site plan, with it being in front of the building like that, do you see any concerns with easements, blocking right away, or anything of that nature?
No, because the trailer will remain road ready. So that's a key for us, is to have it like that in that state. I would prefer it being in front, parallel to Sudworth, to eliminate any, between the residents behind, that Mr. McIntosh was talking about. So I think that'll have the lesser impact if it's positioned towards that.
So are you talking about a 20-foot food truck, or are you talking about a 20-foot trailer? Plus, to be road ready, you're gonna have to add the truck that's on it.
Well, it has
That's the
to have
question I have as far as if that's DOT right away.
The way that we define road ready would mean that it has the tags ready to go onto the road, as well as the tires. It's not on a permanent foundation. So whenever we look at like RVs and trailers that are in the floodplain and RV parks such as the one that we just approved, we make sure that they're road ready if there's a floodplain that's notated there. And that goes for like camper trailers as well.
I guess the question I'm still struggling with is what's the village's liability if you grant a conditional use permit and it turns out that, according to the plat, Mr. McIntosh, that's not part of Greenleaf. That's someone else's property. We don't know who it is at this point. So at what point do you put the village in a liability situation for granting a conditional use permit for something that the applicant doesn't own, or we don't know who owns it?
The assumption for Mr. McIntosh is that's owned by the state right-of-way. I believe that where the trailer will be positioned is on the private property of RL Greenleaf for that business.
Yeah, for the last plat we got, there's no way it would be. If that plat is correct, there's no way that would be the case. Absolutely none.
I don't think we would be,
There wouldn't be a liability on the village, is what I'm telling you.
I don't think we would be liable. It would just be, the property owner would tell us to move it, and then that would be the end of it. You know what I mean? But if it's the main issue is the location of the trailer, we can dictate where in that parking lot it can go. We wouldn't be able to take parking lots away, or parking spots away, according to the code. But if it's just the issue is where it's going on the property, then there
Yeah,
can be.
I mean, you're assuming that he can put it on that, like I said, we were presented information today that at least raises a question. Is it, in fact, able to be put there?
Right.
I mean,
I think it's
I
the
don't
position
know
of the village that our Greenleaf's property goes to the sidewalk. Is that correct?
But we got information that says it doesn't,
I know.
so.
We're going with who's telling us what, It's,
If I could add, there are no overhead lines that are there, so there are no need for like utilities to be in that spot, and, unless they're parking there to do road work, in which case I'm mobile and I can move. If, per DOT needs the spot, then I'm out of there and I can always go to, a different spot that, the Downs or Alto, I have business licenses in, Ruidoso Downs, Ruidoso. And I try to put myself in different spots, but this was something that both myself and the owner of our Greenleaf, because I do all their grand openings all over the state, and I've gone all over, and they like my product and they want me to be moving forward a part of our Greenleaf. And it's a huge opportunity for me to expand my business and maybe buy more trailers. And right now I'm starting here at this location, the home location. And I just want a chance to see how it goes and earn a chance to make a living here.
Is your understanding that that is DOT property you're placing?
It's not my understanding. There was no stakes that I could actually look at. I probably could have researched that. I could talk to Marissa, the manager, and have something emailed to me from the owner. So,
Well, if it is, let's assume, just play devil's advocate for a moment, assume it's DOT property, would they give you a license to run a food business on their property? I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know the answer to that either.
But if it's their property, if it was my property, I would want to have an agreement with whoever was doing business on my property. So
Exactly.
That's why, that's what I said, that's where the confusion is for me.
It was really easy for me in the past because Jasper Riddle owns everything, so it was just, I have his permission, and it's Alto, or it's a different part of Lincoln County. But being here in our town, I know things are different, and I want to abide by every protocol you guys give me. And if we can work this out and come up with a solution, it'd be much appreciated for me and my family.
I mean, you can propose a conditional use with it if that's what you would want to suggest. I mean, there's ways that we can address this. I think the staff is telling us that as proposed, the way that it's laid out, there's not an issue with the trailer being in front of the house or in front of the property, as proposed in the application. But as a commission, we have the right to make suggestions to the conditional use. So if there's a different location on the building that makes sense for this, or it's not approving the conditional use. I mean, we're approving it as presented. So, Commissioners, if there's additional questions or more discussion, or if there's more information that you need, we'd need to ask for it.
Well, I mean, for me, I would kind of like to know if that is DOT. And I think that issue needs to be cleared up. Somebody needs to tell us, hey, this is owned by Greenleaf, whoever, and this is owned by DOT, and then we can make a decision. If the trailer were to go in back where the Connex box is, then I don't think there's an issue. But approving it in the front here, and I know that's like a limited space, but, people are still they use that as a drive-through and everything else. And I think we just need to find out if that is owned by DOT or whether it is private property.
I think it would be proper if you all placed a condition that just stated food truck must be on the private property outside of the right-of-way. Because otherwise it's kind of out of our scope of work that we're working in.
Public input is closed, sir, sorry.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah, hey, Zach, go ahead.
Similar to what Sam is suggesting, you could put a condition on there that should a determination be made at a future date that that property belongs to DOT or somebody other than the owner of the land or where that building is, then the conditional use shall cease.
So conditional use shall cease.
Upon a future determination that the proposed property or wherever the truck is going to be, if at a future date, the village determines that that property belongs to the New Mexico Department of Transportation or another person that's not the applicant or the lessor, then the conditional use will cease.
Zach, I was wanting to leave it open to allow them to reposition the food truck so that one, didn't take up any additional spaces, but if they reposition, say, the Connex box, they still would be able to have the use associated with the private property.
Okay. How about if we do what I'm suggesting, except amend it to the conditional use can continue, but it has to be moved onto a part of the property that we are sure belongs to the lessor. And that's really poorly worded as I sit here in my car, but you get, is that what you're saying?
It instills confidence, but, you know, I think that makes sense. I think it's clear, I shall say. Does that
Rather
address
than
some of your
ceasing-
concern?
Yeah, I mean,
Rather than ceasing the conditional use, it just has to be moved to a different spot.
yeah.
May I approach?
Yeah.
So looking at this, I have pinned in where the food truck's gonna be.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of each workday, I can hook up to it and move it to the backside of this. The only thing is there is an electrical panel there.
Panel, yeah.
And you have covered walkway. I could keep it, 2 feet off the wall and park it there as temporary storage when I'm not at work.
Does that make sense? Move it from where it is.
Just to, appease everything as far as it being right there. And if DOT does need all that space out in front of the property, then it's there. And like I said, it's mobile, so if DOT ever came by and said, hey, kick rocks, you gotta get out of this space right now, then I can just hook up and move.
Yeah.
So,
And I think the intention of the suggested condition on the use was to address that. So it should cover that, should that conditional use pass. Other questions, comments, any other concerns outside of property lines, location of the truck, operating the business?
So my only other question is
Yeah.
legality-wise, it seems to meet all the legal requirements under the village.
Sam's nodding her head, and I think, Zach, you would concur with that assessment?
Yes.
Thank you. If there's a motion from the board,
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richardson, yes.
based upon the foregoing findings of fact 54-68, 54-150, and 54-100 of the Village Code, I move to grant the requested conditional use approval for case CU-2023-453 with conditions stated in the case report.
Before we get a second to clarify, including
Including
the changes that were
changes, yes.
suggested by Zach?
That's correct.
Okay. We have a motion, is there a second?
And can you clarify the motion submitted by Zach?
Yeah.
I think that the conditional use can continue upon the future determination based off the proposal that it is on the property of the lessor. Should it not be, it will have to be moved to additional part of the property that the sublessor,
Or the use would discontinue?
or the use could do. Yeah, he's got to move it or else it'll be discontinued.
Second it then.
Okay, hopefully there's some better language than what I just, but I think we get the intent. Stephanie's
Are you okay if we just say shall be placed on the private property
I think I'm
of that
fine.
lot, and we can put the legal description,
Yeah.
just to keep it cleaner?
But if it's moved to the backside, that doesn't encroach upon any of the parking spaces or people's ability to get in and out, correct?
We can put that, shall not impact ingress or egress or reduce the number of existing parking spaces.
Okay.
Got that, Christie?
We could also write in there that if it comes to pass that it belongs to DOT or anybody else, that the use can continue, but they'll have to come before the P and Z Commission to determine where it's going to be.
That's fair.
Okay, yeah, if we could incorporate.
Sorry, what was that?
If it needs to move from the location proposed today, the applicant will need to come in front of the commission again to determine location.
That's gonna be a little bit tough because, conditional uses remain with the property, so say they sold to like a clothing store, the conditional use of a mobile vending unit would still be
Not
allowed.
according to, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. Our Greenleafs is the condition that we're
But it
tied
remains
to,
with the property, not the business.
not according to the case notes. In my opinion, the mobile vending operations are contingent on the operation of our Greenleaf Organics and will not operate on the property if our Greenleaf Organics is not in operation.
Right, so that just holds them to the same hours as our Greenleaf, but if another business went in there with different hours, then it would just be contingent on the primary business operation hours.
Okay, I would disagree with that assessment based off of that statement.
So per code, a conditional use is granted for the use and not for a specific person. And that's stated within the terms of conditional use approvals.
Right. I guess the language on 3 then is confusing. And that's maybe just my 2 cents.
I mean, we can reword it, the operations of the primary business, instead of listing what the business is.
Yeah.
So the intent of that was to have the same operating
Operating
hours?
hours.
Yeah, so that,
Yeah, I'd state it that way then.
Yeah.
So if it's a different business,
Yeah.
whatever their operating hours are,
Yeah, contingent on the operating hours
Hours
of
whatever business is there.
primary
Okay,
business.
business.
we'll put the primary business, that's the way the code reads.
Okay. Sorry, got us off track there.
It's okay, you came late.
Hey, it was 3 minutes early, thank you. First, the final conditional use, did we finalize that language?
placement must be upon private property of the lessor, or the food truck must be relocated to be fully located inside the property and outside of parking spaces.
Is that the intended language for your motion,
Sure,
Josh?
yes.
Are you good with that?
Yes, I'm good with that.
Okay. And that's still good with your second?
Still good with my second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and we're in agreement on what that motion was. We'll move to a roll call vote unless there's other discussion.
Commissioner Byers?
Aye.
Commissioner Hall?
Aye.
Commissioner McElina?
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson?
Aye.
Commissioner Rigsby?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you for your comments. All right, let's move to,
So we can amend your case study to put those conditions in there, and then we'll send it to you for signature, okay?
we'll move to our next agenda item, community development report. Sam, anything you want to report to the commission?
Yes, I'm happy to let you all know that the governing body adopted the new MRA plan covering Meacham Drive on December the 12th, and so we're working out closing that grant now. Our Workforce Housing Advisory Board is in the strategic planning process of identifying new goals and ways to measure those goals for success. We have our application that will be submitted in 2 weeks for the 9% tax credit to construct the 72 units of apartments right here on Meacham. So that'll be submitted here soon. We are going to be working with different entities in the near future on developing some other large tracts of land that have been identified. So we'll bring that as it develops, but right now we're in the early stages, so everything will actually be coming through you all very, very early on if they're interested in developing their existing land. Short-term rental permits are increasing monthly. This is the November number, 1,431 permits that are active, but we're aggressively looking at permits that are not, or properties that are renting that are not permitted. Building inspections are staying steady. We, for the month of December, finished about 130 permits issued, and so between the village and the county building permits, we're looking at a high for the valuations this year, or ending 2023. So we're looking forward to starting off 2024 strong with the building department. We have the newest inspector, Mark Coker. He has passed his mechanical and plumbing inspections, and so he is to complete 40 hours of ride-along with the state inspector for our area. So once he's done with that, he'll be able to go out on his own inspecting and take some of the workload off David.
Very nice. Is the governing body going to vote on the changes to Chapter 54? Sorry.
There's an upcoming workshop in January, and then we will continue with the public hearings.
Okay. And the workshop is just to educate the board on,
So they can go through the documents without having a 15-hour council meeting.
Wow.
or they can go through the 15 hours just like we did.
That's what I think.
So do we know whether or not the house on Davis that burnt Sunday, was it permitted? Do we know?
Yes, it was a permitted short-term rental.
I knew they were using it for that. I knew that.
Which one?
The one on Davis that burnt Sunday morning?
Yeah?
Yeah, it's an older home. up there
Cozy
in Big
Cabins
Top.
was their property manager.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was one that the fire department used a lot for scouting because it backed up to the National Forest.
Oh.
So it was kind of their little hangout when you need to look out, and it's gone. It was fully engulfed when they got there.
Hey, Sam, I had a question for you. You said 1,431 active short-term rentals, but you found 3,082. Is that to imply that only half of them are permitted?
No, the 3,000 number are the listings. So there's unique listings like on Airbnb and VRBO and Turnkey and all the different platforms. So that incorporates all of the different listings. Like one house may be on 3 sites.
On 3 sites, okay.
I think we were in talk, one of the numbers that we had was 1,900 potentially. That they're contracting with a software developer that can help identify those and make sure they're in compliance.
Okay.
That contract is still in discussion.
It's more than double of what we're paying currently for not much more features. So we're kind of just weighing the pros and cons. And so we haven't moved forward with it yet.
Gotcha.
But there are some that are identified and unpermitted that Christie is actively working with them to get them permitted.
Good deal. Other questions for Sam and crew?
No.
Anything else, Sam? Okay, we'll move to our final one, commissioner comments. Anything to say, fellas?
No, just be aware the Bears are asleep, but the Ravens are still out, so.
Yes, I haven't had to pick up trash in a while. It's been nice. Okay, well, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, motion, second.
Second.
Any opposed to adjournment? No. Nope, okay. We are adjourned. Thank you.